and a very warm welcome to the Real Talk. How have you been? Did you have a great week? We hope you did. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, how much do you know about the law of the land? Do you even care to know what laws affect you or what impact certain mistakes you make could have if they were to be tackled legally? Oh, this show is going to be hot. A very warm welcome to the Real Talk. Our guest today is the president of the Rwanda Bar Association, Moïse Nkundabarashi. What does your surname mean, Moïse?
My surname means I like the warriors, the heroes. That's the explanation behind my name.
The fighters.
Fighters, kind of aiming at liberating.
All right.
Things like that.
Very interesting name. I'm pleased to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. After 26 years of the Rwanda Bar Association, I thought I should look for you so that we can have a conversation around the association. And since its creation, what can you say has been going on? How has been the journey? But also a little bit of enlightenment on the legal practice in Rwanda.
Thank you very much, Jackie. I think it's true that we've been in existence now as Rwanda Bar Association for 26 years. It's only last year that we celebrated our 25 years of existence. And in the immediate aftermath of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, in 1997, the government of Rwanda made it a priority to put in place a bar association. And that was, you will understand that during this time, everything was a priority. It was like...
everything was important.
Everything was important. But then you can understand also 3 years later, right after the genocide, justice was one of the areas that had to be taken care of and build the institutions. When you look in our region, I would say that Rwanda came very late in terms of establishing such an institution. Because prior to 1997, there was no bar association.
Yet we had legal practitioners?
Yet we had some legal practitioners that were under the Ministry of Justice. But then such a practice, you wouldn't really call it a legal practice because these people were not necessarily professionals. They were not legal people that were trained with a law degree. They were only people that would wake up one morning and because they can only speak well in public and they would be allowed to practice in that way. So you will understand that people's rights and justice that was delivered by then was not really something that was going to be very much professional.
You can't even call it justice.
You can't even. I mean, there was something similar to such to legal representation. Then after its creation in 1997, we had pioneers that were sworn in August. The law was passed in March, and then in August, the pioneers were sworn in by the then Court of Appeal, and it was only 37 of them. So you can imagine during that time, 37 lawyers that were going to handle all the issues with the victims, with the suspects. We had a lot of suspects by then. So it's pretty much, it was pretty much, when you want to look at it from a perspective of now, you would say that it was not going to be possible. But then from 1997 to where we are now, we've grown. The bar grew in terms of membership, in terms of activities. And we have contributed very much in making sure that we also represent people that are in need, that do not even have the capacity to pay the legal fees. So now we have 1,637 members.
That's commendable.
From 1997 up to now, and it's a membership that is composed of men and women. In the 37 lawyers that were sworn in 1997, only 7 were women, and now we have 437 that are women.
Amazing.
So that one is maybe something else we are going to talk about, because this is a week where gender was being,
Oh yes, I was going to touch on that. Yeah.
But then in terms of also the leadership of the Bar Association, we've done a lot. We now have an association that is now aiming and going in the direction and in the vision of being a self-sustained organization that is running on its own budget that we get from our members. But also we have started another angle looking at the vision of the country. You can't talk about independence and self-sustained organization if you don't have economic independence. Economic independence. Having it is the foundation of each and everything. At this point in time, then we've started doing some investment. We've bought a hotel. We are also giving medical insurance to our members and their families. We are thinking about the pension scheme that we are about to embark on, because each and every day people are aging. It's very important to start thinking about your retirement when you are still active. In our society, most of the people we think about retirement when they are 50. Yeah. It's already late. And it's only now that we have started that project and it's working. And we think in the future it's going to be perfected as we move along, because this is a work in progress.
And this is money that is collected from the members?
Yes, members do pay contributions every year. So we are now putting aside a certain percentage, so that we make sure that the ones that are aging age with grace and respect.
Yeah.
Yes. So these are part of the project that we have for the moment, and we have partners that we are working with. Part of them are RNIT Iterambere Fund. This is a government-owned company that is promoting investment and savings. We believe in the near future we are going to be at a level where we feel like we've really achieved a lot in terms of self-sustaining this institution economically, which drives even the other projects that you would think of any kind. Yeah.
Legally. I wonder, at what point, under what circumstances would one cease being a member of the association? And if they stopped being a member for one reason or the other, maybe you've banned them, they misbehaved, would they be allowed to practice again?
I mean, I would say that there are two layers on the question. One, there are people that we suspend temporarily, and they will be allowed again to resume practice
after they've served the suspension.
They've served maybe suspension for various reasons. It can be for their own reasons, because if anyone wants to suspend practice, they will write to us, and then we allow them to stop from time X and then resume at time Y. So that happens very, very, very frequently. But there are also people that are suspended because they've maybe made mistakes and some kind of malpractice. Then when it happens like that, you have to serve the period that the disciplinary committee has imposed on you. And when it's done, then you write back and we'll readmit you.
Would such a person use the back door to get registered in another country?
That's not possible, because whoever wants to register in any jurisdiction, you'll be required to have a recommendation from the bar where you're coming from. So most of the time, then when they write to me requesting for a recommendation for someone, then we'll be like, this person is not in good stand, and we will be like, we can't recommend.
Okay, yeah. So that's a question that has been nagging me, so I'm glad I got the answer from you. Yeah. This week has been heavy on women issues.
Yes.
You've said you've got around 400 members?
Yeah.
Out of 1,637?
Yes.
Would you describe that as equality? Balance or imbalance?
I would describe it as equality in as far as our profession is concerned. Okay. And I would describe this as equality in as far as where we are coming from is concerned. Why? I told you we had only 7 pioneers at the beginning of the Bar Association, and today we have 437. That means there is something that was done. Also, something that is very important. This profession has an aspect of being entrepreneurial. you know, because this is like opening your own shop.
Because you're going to open a law firm.
You're going to open a law firm
Yeah.
that needs to be taken care of, and then do like as if you're doing business. It's not like recruiting someone and then someone becomes an employee of the bar association. That's completely different.
Right.
So when we look at this portion of 437, then we believe that something is really happening. And the women are also taking part, even in the leadership of the bar association. Because out of 13 council members that we have, 7 of them are women.
Oh.
Today, the one that is the dean, or my I would say my immediate vice president, is a woman. And we have 7 out of
13.
Out of 13.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are doing this deliberately because we believe we want to build a bar association that does not leave anyone behind. Again, when you look at the disciplinary committee, which is also a very important organ of the bar association, it's also led by a woman. Coming to the staffing of the bar association itself, this is something that we've also done deliberately because we believe in gender. We have pretty much like 12 staff. 6 are women, 6 are men.
6 are men, okay.
Yes, and
you're very intentional about
we're very
this.
intentional about it because having looked at the leadership in general of Rwanda and what it means to have a gender equality and where we are coming from, because I will give you just one example that is not really something that we can be discussing for the moment. In the past, we used to have the laws that would not allow women to have to do business when they don't have authorization from their husband. A woman couldn't open a bank account
without the husband.
The husband's authorization.
Yes.
So
but then when you know, a woman will not even get a loan today without the husband's signature.
That is also something else. Okay. It comes with the kind of regime that they've chosen to manage their property under, which is going to help them manage their property. Something like that.
Different.
That's completely different. But then the reality is, as we assess where we are now, and as far as gender equality is concerned, we should also be looking at where we are coming from. But today, if me as president of the bar, if you ask me if we are there yet, I would say no. It's a work in progress. We have to keep on moving ahead and making sure that, but being deliberate about it and having that in mind, that's a very important achievement, heading to where we want to be in as far as gender equality is concerned.
Yeah.
Yes.
And indeed, you've made some huge strides. We can't ignore that fact.
Yes.
There's something in the legal space known as legal aid. I would love to know what legal aid means, and if it does exist in Rwanda, also how does it work?
Okay, so I would say that legal aid is one of the duty and the responsibility that we do that we have as Rwanda Bar Association. And this responsibility, we do share it with the Ministry of Justice in terms of what we are supposed to be overlooking and making sure that it happens. The reason is we should not have justice that is only for rich people. We should not have justice where only rich people can afford to pay lawyers, are the ones that are protected in courts when the legal battles are happening. So we have a project, like for instance, that we've been implementing with the Ministry of Justice. All juvenile suspects in Rwanda are represented across the country by lawyers we appoint under the project that we work with Minijust. We implement with Minijust. The same applies to the suspects that are having court cases in the Court of Appeal. Why at the Court of Appeal, no one is at the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court, it's not allowed that you can appear without representation by the law. So when you put such a prerequisite for people that are coming to such a court, that means you should also make sure that you have a parallel way of catering for the ones that are in need. Yes, that cannot afford to pay the legal fees. So that then has happened, and we have under the same project with the Ministry of Justice. Each and everyone that needs representation is given the representation in that under the same scheme.
So pro bono falls under legal aid.
Yes, pro bono falls under legal aid, but also there is a policy that was enacted by the government deliberately to do with the legal aid. It has different layers of what needs to be done in terms of like putting in place the legal aid fund, setting up how it has to be operationalized. So the policy is already there, and we have quite a good number of partners that are also part of this scheme of making sure that people at least get representation.
Okay, how often do you go out to create awareness, educate people about this? Because indeed, as you said, a lot of people, even when they are aggrieved, will not seek legal representation or legal advice because we assume it's expensive and it's for the rich. We do not know where to start.
Yes.
In most cases, what many lack is just knowledge. So I'm wondering, as the bar, how often do you go out to make sure that you're talking to people and telling them the government has this projects in place, these programs that will benefit you, so let nobody trample over your rights?
I think because this is something that we've been doing quite for some time, even this kind of conversation is made to make sure that people are aware of these rights. But then the reality is, each and every Friday, we receive people that come to the Bar Association offices to like have consultation with a lawyer, and then whenever we find it deemed necessary, we allocate an advocate to go and represent that very person. So looking at the numbers that we've had in the past, like I would say 2 years or 3 years, it's clear that people are starting to get to know that this service is available. But then again, I do believe all these services, justice, awareness, and so on, these are things that are work in progress. We have not yet gotten to the point where we feel like each and everyone in Nyamasheke, in Gichumbi, in Rusizi will be aware that these are the services that we can provide. But then there is also another project that was initiated by the Ministry of Justice. Nowadays, in each and every district, there is someone called, there's an office called MAJ, Maison d'Accès à la Justice. This means a house at the district where each and everyone that feels like I want to have a pro bono service and legal advice can go to that office, and then the office will help you, guide you in as far as the legal issues that you might be having are concerned. And the people under those houses and those maisons d'accès à la justice, they are our members.
Okay.
So some of them will even go to court and represent these vulnerable people, the ones that do not have the possibility to get a lawyer. So I think these two programs are really working.
Okay.
And we do believe it's really something commendable as far as access to justice, access to lawyers that can help vulnerable people is concerned, and we still have to improve.
Yes, you still need to improve. Yeah. I've talked to quite a number of people, and I get the sense that there's lack of awareness. People will find themselves, I've found mobile money agents arrested because somebody probably withdrew money they had not sanctioned. I've found issues between landlords and tenants, husbands and wives, boyfriends and girlfriends. And you find a lot of people are lost. So indeed they need to be informed and directed to some place where they'll find help.
Definitely, yes. We should be deliberate about these kind of campaigns.
Yeah.
Because as a lawyer, I can tell the difference of someone that is appearing in court without a lawyer and the one that is represented.
Yeah.
It's completely.
You can tell the difference.
I can tell the difference. So it's clear that these services needs to be accessible to each and everyone, regardless of whether someone has means to pay for these services or not. And it actually allows people to, like, as a country, we promote this and make sure that the rule of law is also upheld in terms of access to justice, access to defense counsels, access to lawyers that we help in civil matters and commercial matters. So it's very, very important. And but I do believe at the beginning you would have a problem of even finding those lawyers. But now that we are,
and now you're available,
now people are available.
Many of
you can have such a conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that a lot of you are also quite active on social media.
Yeah.
That you have a presence there and you're constantly responding to messages. That's a good thing because there's a whole constituency on social media as well.
Social media is something that is that is quite good in terms of communication and disseminating.
Yes.
When it's well used.
When it's well used.
That
True.
caveat has to be there because when it's used improperly, then it creates a lot of problems, especially when it comes to aspect of the justice.
Oh yeah.
Some people, the court of public opinion nowadays is making a lot of mistakes.
They're competing with the Rwanda Bar Association. Literally.
Not only with the bar association, but also with the justice in general.
Actually, justice in general, yeah.
Because you don't, if someone like, for instance, is on social media at the arrest and people start debating the same conversation. I mean, by the time he gets in court, the judge that was maybe on Twitter having looked at anything that is happening, I mean, there is a decision that is going to come out which might, in one way or the other, not be the one that he was going to take if it was Mturage that is in Rubavu.
That's very true. Because there was a whole space on Twitter dedicated to them. Case.
I mean, but even I'm a friend of journalists. I want to put this caveat before I make this
That's
statement.
why you're here.
That's the reason why I'm here. But the reality is, even the way news to do with justice sector are reported, there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of trainings. Because sometimes people will report courts that do not exist in Rwanda. About something that has happened at a court that does not exist in Rwanda. The others, we talk about things that are still confidential under the investigation. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done in as far as promoting professionalism is concerned. And I was having a conversation of recent with the people from the Association of Journalists in Rwanda. We agreed that we can have sessions where
we need those,
get to be trained and they get to understand what they need to report and what they are not supposed to be reporting. At what stage are you supposed to report it? So all these are work that needs to be done, and it's only when people get together and understand each and everyone's contribution in making sure that we build a system that is viable, professional. That we can move from one step to the other.
What I get from that point is the need for collaboration.
Definitely.
Yes. Glad you're with us on The Real Talk, and we're so glad to be coming to you from Mythos Boutique Hotel in Kiyovu. If you haven't found time to check on them, please do. They've got this corporate lunch that I love so much, served every weekday at the Atmosphere Restaurant. You need to visit them. We'll be back in a bit. Welcome back. Our guest today is the president of the Rwanda Bar Association, Moïse. Now, Moïse, we've seen you represent people that the society perceives as criminals. You know, when once somebody has gotten to that place, the relatives stay away from them, friends avoid them because now your title has changed. You're a criminal. And yet you will be seen in court representing such people. I wonder what impact that has on the legal fraternity or even you as an individual.
This is a good question. But as a matter of fact, each and everyone that is going through such a process is entitled to be represented.
And this is representation in all courts, like even the Supreme Court.
Like Supreme Court, and by way of principle. Actually, the more even the charges are heavier, the more representation is also needed. But the reality and the truth of the matter is, we come from a society where a genocide against the Tutsi was committed. We've seen what I would say serious suspect and people that have actually even made public statements in and during the genocide being represented. It's very important. And I told you, the court of public opinion will have its own opinion. But then at which point do we get to know that someone is a convict? Someone is a suspect until proven guilty. Then this statement and the court of public opinion will be made at the arrest. It's like we've not even gotten to know what this very person has done clearly.
But the court of public opinion has sentenced them.
They are like,
found them guilty.
We've seen Lumbasi making statement on YouTube. We've seen it.
Yeah.
But there is a court that has to decide that Lumbasi, this and this is called like this in the law, and it's an act that is punishable by such a punishment, and people are not that patient to wait until we get to that conclusion.
Yeah.
But then that representation is part and parcel of that journey. At the arrest, and when someone is like, we've arrested someone, there is a process under which these people have to go through. So representation will be like, hold on a second. We want first to know whether this person has done this and this and this, whether it qualifies to be an offense, and under which circumstances this was done, so that we get to conclude that this is really someone that is now finally convicted. So the lawyer will be like, this whole society that is standing against someone that is being portrayed as an outcast.
Yeah.
The lawyer will be like, can we wait a moment? Can you hold on a second? Let's first examine. And this person will only get to know what he has done and how impactful it was until when the process is concluded. And I always tell people, the ones that are on social media most of the time arguing and making judgment, when they are the ones under the process.
Oh, they will wish things were different.
They will wish things to be different.
Yes.
When it's a relative of yours that is arrested, things will be different. So it's very important that people be careful about this. Justice is not about, it's a process that allows people to revisit what they've done and then realize that maybe I've done something wrong in this society. And then at a certain point to also get back to the same society and be reintegrated. But let's not make mistakes. Lawyers will be like, can we first look into this? Can we first examine what has happened? What were the circumstances under which this very person committed this and this and this? So that's the function of justice. Because the aim of that whole process is to take through someone and then at the end be convicted and then get punished and then at a certain point get back to the society. That is how it's supposed to be. So if that is the aim of making sure that that very person goes through the process and then at a certain point be reintegrated or even be pardoned. We live in a country where people have been pardoned. People have seen it.
We've seen it, yes.
People have seen it. So it's very crucial that people understand that if someone is suspected, it's not already someone to be rejected out of the society. That's where representation and defense is shown as something that has a level of humanity. We should have that sense of humanity.
So we told, let justice take its course.
Let it take its course, and then at the end we will get to know the reality, and there are even a lot that we do not know from the files when they are still under investigations.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is our way of looking at things, and we believe it's something that protects everyone. Having representation is a protection for everyone.
Yeah.
Because you do not know if something is happening to someone today and he's being prosecuted, tomorrow after tomorrow you're the one. Or even a relative of yours. So we should make sure that we establish systems that allow each and everyone to say, you know what, even though I'm going through this process, I believe it's fair. I believe it's fair, and
I
will be
deserve
treated,
what
and
I'm going through.
yeah, and I will be treated fairly.
Fairly.
So that's where people should be what people should be looking at.
Are there cases where people have walked to you and talked to you about some members of the association who probably left them feeling like they were treated unfairly? Because I have had scenarios, but I want to know if some of these cases have gotten to you. Because again, not all members of the Rwanda Bar Association are
Yes.
100% clean.
Let me say this. It's a very good question, but like anyone that is involved in this course of justice is supposed to be someone that can reasonably treat people fairly and with a lot of care. But the reality is something else. Our members are also human beings. The members of the investigation department, the one of NPPA, the ones in court, people make mistakes.
They're all human beings.
They're all human beings. There's a level of them being not fair at a certain point. But that is not an excuse.
Yeah.
Why? Because we are trained to be fair and to even uphold the high value of integrity and make sure that people who appear before us and the ones that we're supposed to be representing feel like they are being treated fairly. But the reality and the practice of what happens each and every day in practice might be different. I cannot say that everything is perfect.
Yeah.
But then having institutions and organs that we overlook that kind of practice.
It's a talk that's been going on lately: mediation and alternative dispute resolution.
Yes.
What does that mean? And our lawyers in the country, have they embraced it?
Okay, mediation is one of the forms of alternative dispute resolution.
Okay.
And it's conducted by a neutral person, that we come and bring the two people that have a dispute and then help them resolve their dispute by trying to bring a kind of rapprochement, that we show you that you have interest in resolving this instead of going maybe to court or have another form of dispute resolution.
Going to RIB,
I don't know, to commercial courts, things like that. So of recent, I know that you follow what the government does. The government of Rwanda has passed a resolution on enacting the ADR policy. ADR policy and the criminal justice policy. It's been something like a few months ago, and
about 5 months or so.
5 months or so, something like that. The purpose of this is to make sure that we have a parallel way of resolving disputes that is not overclouding and creating backlogs in courts. So the truth of the matter is, this is a process that is now getting to be used in so many cases in Rwanda, so that we can have matters resolved instead of waiting for I don't know how many years, because we have a lot of cases that are in courts. You asked a question of whether lawyers are embracing it or not.
Because it could render them jobless.
Actually, for me and the rest of some of our members, we see it as an opportunity for business.
Okay.
Why? Because they can still be mediators, but also the parties that are in mediation do also have legal representation. Nothing stops lawyers from representing people that are in mediation. Like advising them, we foresee this is what we would have gotten if we would have gone to court, but it would maybe had lasted for 5 years. This is what we would have gotten if we go to court, but this would have lasted for 4 years. Then, but if you get it, like for instance today, and you're in business, if this money you get it today, instead of waiting for 5 or 6 years, you might go to business and go back to your business and then do things differently.
Invest this money somewhere.
Invest the money somewhere, and then make even more interest rather than dragging into courts.
Yeah.
So that is where now the government is encouraging people to go.
Because honestly, some of the cases can be resolved at Mudugudu level.
It is possible.
Yes.
But I want to tell you one thing. Educating people is such a complex issue that you don't want to wake up one morning and get where you want to be. Why am I saying this? We are from a background of a society that is confrontational in nature. People go to court to feel like, oh, today a judgment was delivered and I won over Jackie. As simple as that. Nothing in terms of what you got out of the process in terms of money or anything, but that declaration of the court, or that someone has won over someone else,
is enough.
That is enough for me. That is how our society is. And the meaning for that is we grew up and we were all trained in that litigation mentality. Going to court and making sure that I get what I want from the court, that is what I want. I will give you one example. I always have a conversation with my colleagues and look behind and I'm like, but in this country, what did the colonials leave behind in terms of like justice infrastructure? We were only left with this left land. It's the only building that is remaining here in town that we can see.
Left by the colonialists.
Yes, but we are talking about 1930. We do not have a court building of the Supreme Court that was built by them. So today, waking up one morning and then wanting to change that narrative of people understanding that each and every small thing people should go to jail, we're not going to have it immediately.
Not overnight.
Not overnight.
Yeah.
Mindset change is a process. But what you need to be sure about is to make sure that you're on the right track. Are you doing something at least so that such a mentality can?
Are you on that journey? Have you started?
On that journey? Yeah. Have you started? If I'm driving from Kigali to Huye, am I really at least getting to Muhanga? That is where we should be focusing. And at the beginning, if a policy is now something like 5 months ago enacted, today we should be making an assessment of ourselves as where are we going? How many people were trained? How many people have been how many lawyers have been involved in the mediation process that has happened in the court process, the one at least for the cases that are already in court. So these are things that we should be looking at and then make an assessment. Clear accountability as of, do we have it under our continuing legal education trainings? Yes, we do. Okay. How many have been trained since the time when before even the policy was enacted? We have the majority of lawyers are the ones that were trained. And the cases that were handled last year, the majority of them lawyers were involved, either as counsels, either as mediators. So very important. And around the world, wherever this process of alternative dispute resolution succeeded, lawyers played a very, very important role. Because the parties, we tend to have confidence and we tend to be like aligned with their lawyers rather than anyone else, rather than judges, rather than prosecutors, rather than anyone else. We tend to hear the advice from their lawyers, and that's natural. We can't change it because I believe in my lawyer rather than anyone else. Yeah. So
because you never really get the opportunity to directly interact with the prosecutor.
Definitely, yes. Yeah. Definitely, yes. But we walk into the chambers of a lawyer and have a conversation and seek advice.
Yes.
So these are things that I think are ideal, and we believe it's going really to help us decongest the courts, reduce maybe the time that people spend in prisons. I'm talking about plea bargaining in these circumstances.
Reduce the numbers in prisons as well. Because you also don't get to a place where you now start looking for land to build more prisons. You should be working towards reducing the numbers.
Jackie, you're touching something very important, and for a country like ours, in our jurisdiction, resources and the use of resources in terms of what we are supposed to be doing is very crucial. So it does matter that we reallocate the resources that are supposed to be spent on those people that are inmates, and then build a system, a justice system that is stronger. Work on the pay of the RIB staff, NPPA staff, court judges themselves in the lower courts and even in the upper courts. Make sure that we improve their lives so that they can actually build a system that is strong, that is well informed in terms of research and so on and so on, and they even deliver the judgment that we really expect to be the one of 2023. So, but for purposes of the allocation of budget, you will find that there is a lot that is spent on these people, which is not really supposed to be allocated to that side.
And it can be
it can really be doing something else. When you look at the logistics of transporting these people from the prison facility to the court, and sending them back, the guards that are guarding them, I mean, there is a lot that needs to be done. Of course, I know that there is something is being done, because I attend quite a number of senior forums of this discussion. The ministry is working on it, the National Public Prosecution is working on it, the RIB is working on it. So there is a lot that is being done, but it's also equally important that we get to a point where we feel like these resources are not really being used in a place that is not, they are not supposed to be reallocated.
Glad you're with us on the show. We will be back. If you're a foreigner watching and maybe you want to know what it takes for you to practice law in Rwanda, I'll be coming back with that question, after which we'll get to see the 6 Qs. Welcome back to The Real Talk. We're talking to the president of the Rwanda Bar Association, and we're coming to you from Mythos Boutique. Moïse, what would it take? And I'm imagining that there's a lawyer, somebody who studied law, but is living in a different country, who's currently watching the program, and they would like to know what it would take for them to register and practice here.
Thank you very much, Jackie. I think that's a very simple question in as far as our conditions for admission are concerned. The only difference for the national that wants to register here in Rwanda is the proof of reciprocity. As a matter of fact, we only admit lawyers from countries that do also admit
your lawyers,
our lawyers from the other jurisdiction. But talking of this, I am very happy to brag that Rwanda Bar Association is a Pan-African bar association. We have really admitted quite a good number of foreigners from across East Africa, but also beyond West Africa. We have so many members coming from Cameroon and other jurisdictions like I would say Burundi, things like that.
Kenya, Uganda.
But guess what? The reality of what we are seeing in terms of as we go along is that we are not, our lawyers are really struggling to get to have access from their jurisdiction.
That's not good.
You know, the reason is people, we tend to have excuses each and every time when we want to have this kind of protectionism in our jurisdiction in Africa. We will find reasons. We will find reasons. But I believe you will only have such an attitude when you only looking at the moment where you are, and you don't want to look further. The reality is, at a certain point, these young people want to have access. And blocking them is not what is going to give you more business if you have access already as a profession. But the kind of conversation that is happening now at the East African level and the others, people will tell you the countries and jurisdictions have different kind of systems, Romano-Germanic, and the common law system. Then I'm like, but yes, these systems, from what we learned from the uni, we know that it's different. There are differences, but there is nothing, no such a thing like a rocket science that people can't adjust and learn and move on. Because today, the people that taught us at the university when we were still at the uni, we were given the distinction between these two systems. But today, the ones that brought it from the West, a London lawyer is practicing in Paris. A New York lawyer is practicing in Germany. So it's like we've become good at that kind of colonial mentality that we don't want to move on and make necessary adjustment in terms of the curriculum. If I go to Nairobi and I feel like I have to learn how common law works and functions, it's up to me. Let the market be open, and then people will be the ones to adjust.
Just don't block.
Just don't block.
Yes.
But the reality behind blocking is we want to protect our market. We want to make sure that we do not have maybe this country coming to you and overwhelming the market and so on and so on and so on. That's the behind idea. But it's a poor way of thinking.
Very selfish.
The world nowadays, you can't stop someone from practicing by the fact that you've not only allowed him to come and join the bar. No.
They will find a way.
Technology is a game changer in this whole thing. And they will find a way. Yeah. And the moment when you put this blockage and barricades, you can be sure people will find their own way of doing it in a legal way.
Yeah.
And you won't be able at a certain point to control this movement. So it's very important that we think widely, and then extend even to the markets out there, so that Africa can be, at least the ones in Africa can be allowed to move freely.
I agree with you. Let us not just talk about it. We should do it practically.
Practical.
Yeah.
Year 2014 was a good year for me. In that year, three major things, I think. One is I was elected to be part of the Council of the East African Law Society. In my leadership. It was my first leadership function.
Go off.
Number two, that's when I joined my law firm, Trust Law Chambers. That's when I was made a partner by Trust Law Chambers. And number three, that's the year when I got married.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A lot happened in 2014.
It was a lot indeed. Yeah.
Who would you describe as a good lawyer?
A good lawyer is a lawyer that is attentive to details.
Okay.
Details. Details in terms of procedure, but also the lawyer that finds something that no one among the ones that have looked at the file have seen.
Okay. That's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And then, if you weren't a lawyer, what would you be?
I would go for maybe becoming an engineer.
Oh.
I feel like engineers have their way of looking at things.
And that's why, which one would it be? Road engineer, water? Okay, not like I know much about engineering.
I think construction engineers,
okay,
the ones that makes buildings and so on, because I feel like they foresee, or even architectures.
Yes.
How is these things going to be looking like
in the next 50 years?
In the next 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So lawyers also anticipate.
But not as much as engineers.
And not as much as engineers.
Okay.
But our work will be like, if you take this route, you're going to this direction. If you're taking this, you're avoiding this. If you're deciding like this, you're not going to get this risk. That kind of risk assessment is very, it looks like something in common.
Okay. And then, do you have a favorite sport?
I do.
Which
Football.
one? Football?
Yes.
Oh, what number do you play?
8.
Oh, goodness. What team do you play for?
Well, I used to play in the second league here in Rwanda, in one of the team that is in Bugesera.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Is that Bugesera FC?
Yes.
I love that. I've been to their stadium. Yeah. Do you have a favorite club, football club?
Yes.
Whether locally or internationally?
I'm a fan of Barcelona.
Ah,
yeah.
okay.
Barcelona FC is it's a team that gives me good vibes when they're playing. I like their way of playing.
Yeah. And last but not least, what is your preferred form of punishment for a minor crime?
I would say fine.
A fine.
Yeah, a fine.
Okay.
Not really something that takes people to prison, because I do believe in promoting a society where impunity is not given space. Because by then we have degenerated and gotten to a point where we won't be in control of someone coming, breaking your car and stealing. But then making someone paying for what he has damaged in terms of cost in finance, it gives the government a competitive advantage. It's like he's the one spending rather than the government spending on him.
On him, okay.
Yeah, that's my way of looking at things.
Okay.
And
I thought you were going to say community work. Would that apply?
That also be a good idea. If we have today a city that is clean, instead of having people being taken to a place where we're going to be feeding them without doing anything.
Yes.
Why don't we have people that cleans all these cities?
Let them come and clean the streets, yeah.
Across the country.
Actually, yes, across the country.
Across the country, not even thinking about Kigali hate, looking nice. No, let's have people go clean Musanze.
Okay.
Let's have people go clean Rubavu. By then, the community is benefiting.
Yeah. And someone is learning a lesson.
And someone is learning a lesson.
Yes.
I don't think you can go through such a punishment and then later commit the same be a recidivist. And when it happens, then we've seen you.
Next time we'll make the punishment heavier.
Then that means you need to be out of such a society.
Okay. Moïse, it's been a pleasure sitting down with you. Thank you for honoring our invitation.
Yeah, the pleasure was mine, and
I have a lot of things I could talk to you about, but I guess we'll need to have another session.
No worries.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been a pleasure having your company on The Real Talk. For this episode, we were talking to the president of Rwanda Bar Association. If you have any questions or comments, please put them online. We will respond to them. I will also be there. Use the hashtag The Real Talk, and let's be in touch. My name is Jackie Lumbasi. We will see you next week. God bless you.